Oral answer today. Would some honourable member care to move that the House take note of miscellaneous business?
I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we've been sitting here today, actually the last 2 days, listening to the government desperately trying to defend its record on poverty in New Zealand. Trying to defend it against three reports, not just one: the Netherlands study, the Ministry of Social Development report on household incomes, and the Children's Commissioner's report, all of which are saying exactly the same thing: that poverty has gone up in New Zealand, that more than 250,000 children now are living in poverty, that we now have the highest level of poverty in the last 20 years. Not since the 1990s, the early 1990s, have we seen such record levels of poverty, and that hardship, material hardship for young people and children, has gone from covering 16% to 21% of children in this country. Sir, that is a disgrace. It's a bloody disgrace that our country is in that situation where children are in such conditions. And we're seeing in the hospitals, sir, rheumatic fever, skin diseases, respiratory diseases, all of these sorts of diseases that you would see not in a place like New Zealand, sir, but in a place like the third world. These are places that I've seen and worked in before, and here we are seeing it in this country, and it is, sir, a disgrace. And so what we hear from on the other side of the House, Mr. Speaker, is that all we need to do is to make sure that everybody's in full employment. Well, I agree that full employment is a wonderful thing, and under the Labor government, sir, that's exactly what we had: 3.5% unemployment. But I can tell you that the biggest problem here is that 40% of those kids that are in poverty, 40% are actually from families where there is employment. There is employment in those families, Mr. Speaker, and what does that tell you? It tells you very simply that we're not paying enough. And this government, this John Key's government, is actually aiming for the bottom. We are aiming for a low-wage economy rather than a high-wage economy. What that means is that 1 in 5 people that go to the Salvation Army to get food parcels, they come from families that are in poverty, that are working, Mr. Speaker. So when this government says all we need to do is to put people into work, they overlook the fact that the rates of pay are so low for many of these families that they will not be able to avoid going into poverty. They will not be able to avoid bringing up their children without the benefits that they need in order to thrive. And the other big question about going into full employment, Mr. Speaker, is the absolute obvious one, is where are the jobs? Where are the jobs that are meant to be supplied to those people who need to move into employment? Sir, they are not there. John Key gave a number of statements, a number of promises over the last few months. He said, "I am prepared to commit government resources to try and lift children out of poverty." We've failed. "I am deeply concerned about every child in New Zealand who is in poverty." So are we, but what's happened? Nothing. "We will bring a special focus to improving the results of public services for vulnerable children." The only problem is, sir, we're going backwards, not forwards. So a string of empty phrases and empty promises doesn't actually help, Mr. Speaker. The Ministerial Committee on Poverty is a joke. It's met 4 times. It can't even come up with a measurement on poverty. And there's a really good reason for that, Mr. Speaker, because if you come up with a measurement, actually you have to be measured against it. And if this government is measured against a poverty measure, sir, it will be found to be wanting. It will be found to have failed. So we have this ministerial committee on poverty, sir, that just keeps on meeting once after month, and nothing is coming out of it. We actually offered, sir. We offered. Thank you, sir.
The Honourable Judith Collins.